On June 9th, Anthropic released the most powerful AI model the public had ever been allowed to touch. 3 days later it was gone. People across the world lost access. It was not a server crash and not an error. The United States government reached into a live product and ordered it switched off for the entire planet. This is the story of how a model that beat its closest rival by a wide margin at half its old price became the first frontier AI in history that the government simply turned off. And it starts with a question almost nobody expected to ask in 2026. Is an AI model a product or is it a weapon? The official reason was national security. But the people who built the model called that a misunderstanding, and a dangerous one, to be honest. To see who's right, you first have to understand exactly what got taken away from some of us. First, what exactly got switched off? Think of it as two doors into the same engine. Fable 5 was the public door. Mythos class capability, made safe for general use, with built-in restrictions in high-risk areas like cybersecurity, chemistry, and biology. Mythos 5 was the same model with the guardrails off, handed only to vetted enterprise customers under a program called Project Glasswing. And it was not a small upgrade. Across standard benchmarks, it scored more than 10% higher than Claude Opus 4.8. On a hard coding test built from real GitHub issues, it hit 80.3%, against 58.8% for OpenAI's GPT 5.5. That's roughly 1 1/8 times the coding ability of its biggest competitor. Then there was the price. $10 per million tokens going in, 50 going out. Advertised as less than half the cost of the previous Mythos version. The most capable model Anthropic had ever released, for the widest audience it had ever served, at a price built for mass adoption. That is what made it disappearing such a shock. Now, how it fell apart in 3 days. It launched on a Tuesday and was jailbroken within hours. Over the next 2 days, the story spreads through the tech press. Then, on Friday evening, 5:21 p.m. Eastern, the US Commerce Department sends Anthropic a formal order. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick directs the company to cut off access to both Fable 5 and Mythos 5. Anthropic complied within hours. One journalist used the model at 9:20 that night and found it dead by 10:05. Users who tried to open it got a cold error message. There's an issue with the selected model. It may not exist, or you may not have access. Every other Claude model stayed online. Only the new one vanished, and that speed is the first clue something way deeper was going on. Governments do not usually move from new product to global shutdown order in 72 hours. To do that, the machinery has to already be in place, which means the real story didn't start on June 9th at all. It started with one researcher in a single night, but this wasn't a random troll. Pliny the Liberator, an anonymous researcher, was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in AI, with over 100,000 followers and a code repository starred more than 10,000 times. The joke in the field. A new model drops and Pliny cracks it before lunch. His approach wasn't one magic trick. It was a layered attack, wrapping harmful requests in innocent-sounding narratives, hiding instructions inside unusual character encodings, stretching prompts across huge context windows, and breaking a forbidden task into small steps that each looked harmless on their own. It worked on 2 levels. He pulled out Fable 5's entire hidden system prompt, roughly 120,000 characters, and published it. And he got the model to produce exploit code and chemistry guidance it was explicitly built to refuse. The government's specific worry was narrower than it sounds. The model could read a codebase and point out software flaws in it. But here's the first crack in the official story. Spotting software flaws by reading code isn't an exotic superpower. Anthropic pointed out it's widely available in other models, including OpenAI's GPT 5.5, and that defenders use exactly this capability every day to keep systems safe. So the question becomes, was this really a unique threat, or a routine feature in a tense moment? That's the genuine debate, and I want to know what you think of it. Drop a comment. Are we stressed over nothing, or is this a real danger? Hold that thought, because the people who stress tested this model have a very specific answer. Here's what almost everyone gets wrong. First myth, that Anthropic decided to lock people out. It didn't. The company says it was following a direct government order, one it publicly disagreed with. This was compliance, not strategy. Second myth, that this only hit people overseas. The order was far broader. It suspended access for any foreign national, whether inside or outside the United States, including foreign national employees at Anthropic itself, people with lawful US work authorization, and that's why Americans lost it too. Anthropic couldn't just block a few countries, because foreign nationals on US soil, remote workers abroad, and its own staff would all still violate the order. The only way to be sure it complied was to shut the models off for everyone, everywhere. Third myth, that the model was hopelessly broken. Anthropic's position is the opposite. It calls the jailbreak narrow and non-universal, a specific method against specific requests, exploiting previously known minor weaknesses, not a master key to the whole system. But this was never really about one jailbreak. Earlier in 2026, the Defense Department had labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk, a designation usually reserved for foreign adversaries. The trigger? Anthropic had refused certain military requests, domestic surveillance, and fully autonomous weapons without meaningful human control. It said those uses clashed with its principles. Anthropic didn't back down. It sued the government in 2 separate federal courts, calling the risk label unlawful retaliation. Just days before launch, the administration had asked it to delay Fable 5 so the national security apparatus could be hardened first. Anthropic launched anyway. 3 days later, the order came: strip away the timing and you reach the real issue. The government treated a piece of commercial software the way it treats missile guidance or nuclear material. Something to be export controlled, kept from foreign hands, switched off if it leaks. That's the actual fight. Whether powerful AI is normal technology or sensitive national security infrastructure that the public was never really entitled to. This is the kind of shift that rewires the whole industry quietly, and I break down stories like this every week. If you want to actually understand where AI is heading, subscribe. Because what happens to Anthropic doesn't stay with Anthropic now. Why every other AI lab is terrified. Anthropic warned that recalling a model over one narrow jailbreak would halt new launches for every frontier lab, because every deployed model has some jailbreak. Industry watchers agreed. OpenAI, Google, Meta, and every other lab is one public demonstration away from losing their products too. Its safety approach was layered. Training to resist known attacks, a 30-day monitoring window to catch new ones, that massive red team effort, and safeguards that triggered in under 5% of sessions, meaning the model correctly refused the vast majority of harmful requests. Anthropic called it the most effective safety stack any model had ever shipped with, and there's a darker read. A government that can remotely disable one company's model can, in theory, choose which labs survive and which don't, selectively based on politics rather than consistent technical standards. The developers, the enterprises, and the everyday users building on these tools all just learned their access can be revoked overnight by someone who isn't them. So where does this leave the rest of us? For years, the best AI tools launched, and anyone with a credit card could use them. That's the deal that just broke. The Fable 5 shutdown pointed to a future where access to the most powerful models isn't universal. It's conditional. There's a real tension here, and no clean answer. Treating frontier AI like a controlled technology might slow dangerous misuse, but it also splits the world into those who get the best tools and those who don't. And it hands governments the power to override engineers based on fear instead of evidence. For now, Anthropic says it believes this is a misunderstanding and is working to restore access as soon as possible. But the precedent is set. The next time a lab ships something this powerful, the question won't just be, is it good? It'll be who's allowed to use it. And that answer may no longer be everyone's so. The real answer to why Fable 5 got shut down. Not because it failed, but because the government decided a model this capable was too powerful to leave in foreign hands. And Anthropic believes it overreached. Who knows what they could have seen in the future, but the first frontier model a government ever switched off won't be the last. I want to know where you stand. Was this a necessary security call, or government overreach that breaks the open internet? Tell me in the comments. And if this is the kind of story you want decoded the moment it breaks, subscribe. There's a lot more coming, and it's all moving so fast.